When police entered the home, the husband claimed his wife had slipped and drowned in the bathtub. But there was one terrifying problem. The bathtub was dry, and what investigators discovered next would expose a shocking web of lies, obsession, and murder hidden behind a luxury home renovation in Orlando, Florida. To understand this case, investigators would eventually realize they first had to understand the man at the center of it all. David Trance appeared to be successful. Friends and neighbors described him as calm, educated, and financially comfortable. But according to prosecutors, almost everything about his life was built on deception. Years before the murder, David met a woman named Shanti Cooper through Match.com. Shanti was smart, independent, and successful in business. She worked hard, made good money, and was raising her son while building a stable life for herself. Friends said she was caring, organized, and responsible. When she met David, she believed she had finally found someone who matched her lifestyle. David reportedly told Shanti that he had inherited millions of dollars from his family. He claimed he was wealthy, semi-retired, financially secure. But according to investigators, none of that was true. Behind closed doors, David was struggling financially and depending heavily on Shanti's income. Still, the relationship moved forward quickly. Eventually, the couple got married and purchased a historic home together in the Delaney Park neighborhood of Orlando. At first, it looked like a dream project. The house was large, beautiful, and full of potential. But over time, the renovation became something much darker. David grew completely obsessed with rebuilding the property. What started as remodeling soon turned into total destruction. Walls were ripped apart. Rooms were gutted. Structural supports were removed. The house became almost unlivable. According to witnesses later called during trial, the renovation had gone completely out of control. One television producer would later describe the home as dangerously unstable. Another witness said the inside looked like a construction disaster zone. But for David, this house represented more than just property. It became tied to his ego, his identity, and eventually, his desperation. David reportedly became obsessed with getting the house featured on the A&E reality television series, Zombie House Flipping. The show focused on damaged or abandoned homes being restored for profit. David believed the show could save the project, maybe even bring him attention and recognition. But there was one major problem. Shanti was no longer on board. As the months passed, tensions inside the marriage reportedly became worse and worse. The renovation costs kept growing. The home remained unfinished. And according to prosecutors, Shanti was becoming increasingly frustrated with both the house and her husband. Private writings later recovered from her computer revealed just how unhappy she had become. In one note, she reportedly wrote that the renovation was going nowhere and their relationship was getting worse. Friends said she was exhausted emotionally and financially. And then came the meeting that prosecutors believe changed everything. Just 1 week before the murder, David and Shanti met with producers connected to Zombie House Flipping. According to testimony, Shanti appeared uncomfortable during the meeting. She reportedly did not want to participate in the show. At one point, she allegedly became upset and walked out. For David, this may have felt like total humiliation. Investigators later argued that the television show had become deeply tied to his hopes, his image, and the future of the house. And now, the person financially supporting everything wanted out. Then came April 24, 2018. That morning, emergency dispatchers received a disturbing 911 call from David Trance. He claimed he had gone outside briefly to walk the dogs. When he returned, facial fractures, bruising, a broken hyoid bone in her neck, and signs of prolonged strangulation. Investigators believed she had been attacked inside the bedroom before her body was moved into the bathtub. Evidence suggested someone had tried to clean up blood from the scene. Police immediately focused on David. As detectives interviewed him, they noticed behavior they considered unusual. Investigators later said David appeared more performative than emotional. They described his crying as forced, his reactions rehearsed. One detective even stated that during questioning, David never showed genuine grief. According to police, he never shed a real tear. And the more investigators examined the evidence, the weaker David's story became. Forensic evidence contradicted his bathtub accident explanation. The injuries were too severe, too violent, too intentional. This was not an accident. This was homicide. Over the next several months, investigators worked carefully to build the case. They examined blood evidence, phone records, financial records, witness testimony, and the condition of the home itself. What they uncovered painted the picture of a collapsing marriage driven by lies, money problems, and obsession. Investigators also learned more about David's secret life. According to reports later discussed during media coverage, David allegedly lived a double life and engaged in secret encounters while married to Shanti. While prosecutors did not present this as the motive for murder, it added to the growing image of a man hiding multiple truths from the people around him. Then investigators made another strange discovery. Shanti's engagement ring was found at David's mother's house. Prosecutors argued this was evidence of manipulation after the murder and showed consciousness of guilt. Meanwhile, the once beautiful Delaney Park home continued sitting in terrible condition. Neighbors complained. The property reportedly accumulated major code violations, and the home slowly became infamous in the Orlando area. Months after the killing, police finally made their move. In August 2018, David Trance was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. But even after the arrest, the case was far from over. The legal battle would continue for years. David's defense team argued that he suffered from serious mental illness, including schizophrenia. Questions about his competency delayed the trial repeatedly. At times, the case appeared stuck in limbo. Psychological evaluations were conducted. Experts debated whether David was mentally fit to stand trial. Eventually, after years of delays, a judge ruled that he was competent. The case finally moved forward. By October 2023, more than 5 years after Shanti's death, David Trance went on trial for murder. During the trial, prosecutors laid out their theory clearly. They argued that David had created an entire fake identity, a fake millionaire lifestyle, a fake image of success. And when his marriage began collapsing under financial pressure and emotional conflict, he snapped. The prosecution told jurors that Shanti's refusal to support the reality TV dream may have pushed David into rage. Witness after witness described the unstable condition of the house. Some testimony shocked jurors. One producer connected to the renovation project testified that so many structural elements had been removed that parts of the house were barely being held together. Others described David as obsessive and consumed by the renovation. Meanwhile, forensic experts detailed the violence of the murder. They explained that Shanti's injuries were completely inconsistent with an accidental fall. The strangulation alone would have required sustained force for several minutes. The defense attempted to challenge the investigation. They argued police rushed to judgment and focused too heavily on David from the beginning. But prosecutors countered with forensic evidence, testimony, and the staged bathtub scene. And for many observers, the most damaging element remained David's own behavior. The fake crying, the strange emotional reactions, the inconsistencies, the lies about money, the lies about his life. After a 6-day trial, the case finally went to the jury. The deliberation did not last long. Less than 5 hours later, the jury returned with a verdict, guilty. David Trance was convicted of first-degree murder for killing his wife, Shanti Cooper Trance. Because of the conviction, he received a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. But even after the conviction, the story still wasn't fully over. The damaged Delaney Park home remained standing as a symbol of the entire tragedy. Over time, the property reportedly accumulated massive fines and code violations from the city of Orlando. Eventually, officials moved toward foreclosure proceedings connected to the deteriorating property. Meanwhile, Shanti's family continued fighting for justice through civil court. In 2025, her son was awarded a wrongful death judgment worth millions of dollars. For many people following the case, the entire story remained deeply disturbing because of how ordinary it first appeared. A married couple, a renovation project, a beautiful neighborhood. But underneath the surface was a relationship filled with financial deception, hidden resentment, obsession, and rage. Investigators believe that on the night of April 24, 2018, all of it finally exploded into violence. And in the end, the so-called dream home became a murder scene. Today, David Trance remains in prison serving a life sentence for the murder of his wife, Shanti Cooper Trance. The case shocked Florida and attracted national attention because of its strange combination of reality television obsession, financial lies, and a staged crime scene that quickly unraveled. Many people still remember the disturbing images of the gutted Orlando home, a house that was supposed to represent a fresh start but instead became the center of a brutal homicide investigation. For Shanti's loved ones, no verdict could ever truly undo the loss. But after years of delays, investigations, and courtroom battles, prosecutors say justice was finally served. And the story remains a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous secrets are hidden behind closed doors, inside homes that appear completely normal from the outside. If you enjoyed this true crime documentary and want to see more real cases just like this one, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload.